welcome from the Temple of the Sacred String. This is Greg Vaughn here for the first little test and experiment of my video teaching system. We're going to get started by learning about triads. Now before we jump into triads, I'm going to review some basic theory. There are 12 notes in Western music. Take 7 of those notes and you've got the basic major scale, or the minor scale, or all the other modes that come from the major scale. Now to make up a chord, a basic chord, major or minor, is made up of the notes of the triad. So you got 12 notes in Western music, 7 notes in a scale, in a major scale. We're going to take the 1 and the 3 and the 5. If we're in the key of C, where we'd have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we're back to C again. Those notes, 1, 3, and 5, would be C for 1, E for 3, and G for 5. That makes up the major triad. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to learn our triad shapes across one string first, before we learn them going across several strings, because that gets a little more complicated with the tuning and the theory and everything. So first, we're going to learn how to play a major triad on one string. And I'm actually going to do it in the key of C. So here's our C on the 5th fret of the G string. Then I'm going to play an E on the 9th fret of the G string, and then a G on the 12th fret of the G string. Now, if we analyze how many frets are in between each note of the major triad, if we're starting on the 5th fret with that C, and then we go up to the E on the 9th fret, that's a spacing of 4 frets. Then if we go from that E on the 9th fret to the 12th, the G note, which is the 5th, that's a spacing of 3 frets. So 5, 9, 12 for the frets. The formula for the major scale is 2.5, 3.5. That means 2 whole steps followed by a half step, 3 whole steps followed by a half step. The half steps are in between the 3rd and 4th notes and the 7th and 1st notes. So the first 2 movements in the major scale, from the 1st note to the 2nd and the 2nd note to the 3rd, those are both whole steps. When you move a whole step on guitar, it's 2 frets. When you move a half step, it's 1 fret. So 2.5, 3.5, we've got a 1, a 2, or a 1, a 3, and a 5 to make the triad. 2 whole steps, 4 frets takes us from 1 to the 3rd. And then the half step, first half step, happens between the 3rd and 4th intervals. In this case, the key of C, it's going to be between E and F. So we've got that. That's our 4th note. And then we're back to whole steps, whole, 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 half. So we've got another whole step. And that's how we wind up on the 12th fret. So we go 2 whole steps from 1 to 3. And then we've got a step and a half from 3 to 5. Now, wherever you play that shape on any string starting on any fret, that's going to be a major triad. Whatever your start note is, that's the root of your triad. Very, very simple. If I do it from right here, let's say the 3rd fret on the D string, which happens to be an F, that's an F major triad. F, A, C. If I started from the 5th fret on the low E string, that's an A. A, C sharp, E. No matter where you do the shape, it's always a major triad. Now we're going to jump into inversions. What inversions are when you play the notes of the triad, but you don't necessarily have that 1 on the bottom. So if you picture a 1, and then a 3, and then a 5, and then the octaves, all we're going to do for that first inversion is take that 1 from the bottom and throw it up on the top. So now we have 3, 5, 1. So this was our triad, our 1, 3, 5. Now we're going to go 3, 5, 1. Now the spacing is going to be different, because when we started the regular triad, it was 4 frets and then 3 frets, the spaces between the 3 notes of the triad. But now it's going to be 3 frets from a third to a fifth, and then 5 frets from the fifth to the octave. Okay, so that's a major triad first inversion. Starts on the third interval, and then 3 frets, and then 5 frets, ending on the root. Now for the second inversion, because now we have 3, 5, 1, we're going to take that 3 and throw that up on the top. Now we've got 5, 1, 3. So 5, and then 5 frets up to the root. Then we started with C, and then 4 frets up to that third. So that's going to be, the formula there is you're going to start on the fifth interval, and it's 5 frets and 4 frets. Again, anywhere you do any of these shapes, anywhere on the neck, starting from any note, that's what you're playing. Major triad first inversion, major triad second inversion. Now, here's a great way to practice these, so you can play the notes over and over again and train your ear and just get used to seeing the shapes quickly. We're going to do some finger tapping. I'm not going to do any super crazy Eddie Van Halen stuff in the demonstration. I'm just going to slowly go through and give you a couple patterns to practice that'll help you learn the triad shapes. And you can do it as an exercise to learn the shapes and also just to work on your finger tapping. So I'm going to start here on the fifth and go 5, 9, 12. Or I can do the opposite, 12, 9, 5. Remember, when you're finger tapping, let's say I'll do it from the top. I'm going to tap, I'm going to use my first finger on my right hand, pull off with this finger here to that pinky, and then pull off with the pinky. Now, what can be easier, as opposed to doing a triplet, is if you add in a fourth note, in which case you could do something like this. So I'm just going fifth, third, first, third, fifth, third, first, third, back and forth. Here's another pattern you can do. You can do the fifth, and then the first, and then the third and the first. Or you could also think of it like this: top note, middle note, bottom note. Okay, so that's giving us our major triad and some different ways to do finger tapping. Now we're going to go to the first inversion. 9th fret, 12th fret, 17th fret, okay? So that's first inversion. Third interval, fifth interval, octave. Now do the pattern that goes top, bottom, middle, bottom. Now the next pattern, or the next triad inversion, the second one, it's 12th fret, 17th fret, 21st fret. And then I can do the alternate pattern, which is the top, bottom, middle, bottom. Okay, now, with that simple tool, you can start to get really creative with your solos, just dealing with major triad shapes and inversions all over the neck. Little blooper there. bonkers there, but I think you get the idea. Everything I did was just finger tapping major triads. So I'm going to email you guys a page, and you can start working on that. And hopefully this is going to work, and I'm going to make lots more videos for you. Rock on.